Good, beautiful morning, everybody, out here in Guadalajara, Mexico again. Absolutely gorgeous Sunday morning, Easter morning, in fact. And my God, I'm just so thankful to be here. Been living in a more industrial city for the last couple of weeks, just hunkering down, focusing on work, living a little cheaper. And man, this city is just so aesthetic. I mean, again, just take a look. So much green. The buildings are nice. And as you can see, they're building like crazy out here. It's a very popular place. And, one thing that you notice when you come out here to Mexico is that people still go out. People still have fun. What do I mean by that? Well, I was just speaking with a friend out in Austria, in Vienna, and it's like an 8-9 hour time difference. And he was telling me that he was out yesterday. It was like noon, 1 o'clock for me, and so evening for him. He's telling me, man, I'm out here in Vienna. It's Saturday evening, and like nobody is out. The clubs are closing down. People don't have any money. And the main point I wanted to make with this video is that Gen Z doesn't care to go out and meet people and doesn't care to go out and start relationships. This is a massive problem. Massive, massive, massive problem. Because if people aren't meeting organically like they always did, and they're instead relying on social media and dating apps, I mean, we're headed towards a major demographic issue, and not to mention also emotional issues connecting with each other. We were not meant to connect through a screen, okay? Even though right now that's how I'm reaching you, and for the time being, that's how we are just connecting at the moment. Um, what I really wanted to say here, guys, is not everywhere in the world is the same. And I know it might seem like that, especially if you've never left, especially if, even if you have left, maybe you've taken a quick vacation to a popular destination like Cancun or Cabo or whatever. When you go and explore, you see that not everywhere is doom and gloom. And one of the things that occurred to me yesterday when he was mentioning that, oh, people don't have money here anymore. Obviously, there's some major geopolitical problems going on right now that are affecting everyone, but a lot of it is happening in Europe because they're just closer to where all that stuff is occurring. And so, when people don't have money and people have also been, kind of indoctrinated to believe that going out and speaking to strangers is cringe or it's wrong or somehow invasive or bothersome, you're going to have a lot of issues. And when we talk about a city like Vienna, Austria, a rich city, people are used to a certain standard of living. And people need a certain amount of money to maintain that standard. However, over here in Mexico, probably one of the biggest advantages of not just living out here, but getting used to living out here. Now, of course, you can live pretty well if you make more money, but you have a major advantage because you don't need to make as much money as if you were living in a city like Vienna. And so people are already kind of used to somewhat lower standards. This isn't to excuse that. This isn't to excuse the bad side of having lower standards, like throwing trash into the street or things not working like they should, which thankfully isn't really much of an issue. You guys can even take a look. How much trash do you see on these streets? Are they the most beautiful streets ever? No, obviously it's not freshly paved. But it's clean, you know? This is one of the nicer parts of the city, that's for sure. What I'm saying is, out here in a place like Mexico or in a country like Colombia or Argentina, Brazil, people are already used to having less. People have already figured out how to make do with less, and they figure, you know what? Let's just have fun. Let's party. Latinos get really criticized a lot by Anglos and other first world people because of this kind of perspective on life and this way of being. That, oh, these people don't work, they just dance around all day and they blast their music and blah, blah, blah. And there's absolutely a lot of people like that. And if they did put in a little bit more work, their situation could be a lot better. But on the flip side, it's like, if your life is kind of shite, maybe you should just enjoy it. Maybe you should just figure out what you can do to enjoy it. If you see no way out, then okay, yeah, enjoy what you have. That's not, again, an excuse to be a defeatist or a cope or anything like that, because in 2026, there's ways out. If you speak English, you're a first world citizen, and you move to a place like this, you can live pretty dang well. And I'm living proof of it. And in fact, even with all these crises happening, it's funny. The Chinese, and many of you know that I studied Chinese, like I actually speak the language. The word for crisis in Chinese is 危机, which means the first part of that word means danger. The second part of it means chance or opportunity. And so many fortunes have been made in times of economic downturn. And let's be real, guys. No one can afford for the world to just stop. No one can afford for the US dollar to go down. None of this stuff is going to happen anytime soon. It can happen, and it can happen in certain ways, which many of us, normal folk probably can't exactly predict. But for the time being, it's like, don't be a defeatist. Don't make the mistake of coming down to a place like Latin America and then just living like the locals and partying all the time and not working towards a better future. But also don't make the first world kind of more Anglo mistake of just working your life away and basing your happiness, your self-worth, everything around how much money you make in your job title or how big your business is or anything like that. That's probably one of the biggest lessons that you can learn living in Mexico, in Latin America in general. Have some fun. Make do with less. Doesn't mean you have to be content with less, but recognize that you actually can live pretty dang well without having to completely destroy yourself to make some pieces of paper or to see numbers on a screen go up. That's all I got for you today.